shortly. So some breakthrough that could come in. The tensions that we have been witnessing between the two neighbors, Pakistan and Afghanistan, now could be resolved as China now plays a host to the talks between the two countries. Now that's a breaking development we're getting from Asia. Big meeting now set to take place between the representatives from Pakistan as well as Afghanistan. The meeting here is being hosted by China, and the meet is set to take place shortly. Now remember, viewers, this comes after months of tensions which have been building up. We have seen strikes and counter-strikes taking place. Civilians have been killed in Afghanistan. Women, children, all have come under attacks by Pakistan. And now some breakthrough on this front as China is now set to hold a meeting between the representatives of Pakistan and Afghanistan just a short while from now. All right, viewers, also let's bring you what exactly has been happening in Pakistan and Afghanistan so far. Let's take you through all of the strikes and counter strikes that have also taken place. In a short while from now, we'll play some videos for you to show you the extent of strikes which have been exchanged between Pakistan and Afghanistan in the past few months. But right now, the big focus is on the meeting that's set to take place in China shortly between the representatives from Afghanistan as well as Pakistan. Now, China here playing a host, playing a mediator between the two neighbors, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now, remember, Pakistan continues to level allegations against Afghanistan of harboring a TTP and of trying to inflict terror on its soil, while Afghanistan says it does not provide a safe haven to any terror groups, and there are no attacks being carried out against Pakistan from its soil. Now, those are the visuals on your screen showing you the attacks that have taken place over the past few months. We have seen a hospital, a rehab center was attacked in Afghanistan, and now some breakthrough. All right, Major Samarpal Tuna joins us on this. Major, I want to ask you, a big breakthrough could be anticipated as China here is now playing a host, playing a mediator between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and a meet is expected to take place shortly. How do you read these developments, sir?
Well, this meeting is going to take place at a place called Urumqi in China. And basically, see, China is definitely worried because if this battle prolongs, then probably there are chances that, the terrorism aspect might just cross the border into China. There can be terrorist factions, or could be that the Taliban, groups, independent groups, then, take safe haven in China if the war prolongs or if it goes out of control. And then there'll be a lot of interference from the Americans and from all the other SAARC and BRICS countries as well. And you see, this war has been going on for quite some while. It's been a stalemate. There has not been anything constructive that has come out of it. And you see, China's vested interests are basically in terms of mining. So that is what China does not want that to get disturbed, or their mining operations to get stopped at all, because they signed a deal regarding the rare earth metals and other important ingredients of mining from the Taliban. So keeping that in mind, they definitely want this to be a peaceful outcome. And other than that, you see, they've already seen a drawback in terms of the CPEC project. So probably a peace brokered by China amongst both of these nations might bring some respite and CPEC project on track. But as of now, I do not see it happening, because you see, Pakistan has been, it has initiated peace talks with Iran, which Iran has refused to take part in. Now, Pakistan itself is in deep waters. So I really fail to understand whether Pakistan wants to broker peace for somebody else, or want to broker peace for its own self as well. So Pakistan is definitely in a fix. It cannot afford multiple confrontations that it is already stuck in. So I think it is sheer desperation of Pakistan that it has pressurized China to step in and broker this peace talk. But I certainly do not see any agreement coming soon at the moment, looking at how the scenario is building up in terms of the GCC countries wanting to go to war against Iran, and Pakistan itself will be part of that coalition with the GCC to go into war with Iran.
Right, so I understand that China has a vested interest here, whether it's a mining, whether it's a CPEC corridor. But, you know, the trust deficit between Afghanistan and Pakistan still remains very large, because we have seen time and again, even after ceasefire was declared, Pakistan continued with its attacks, violating the ceasefire agreement. So what do you think will be the major points presented from both the sides at this meeting?
Firstly, I certainly feel it is going to be a ceasefire. And followed by the ceasefire, then they will sit down to discuss regarding the Durand line. But you see, it is a dispute which has been for a prolonged number of years. It's not something that is going to, come to a conclusion or an agreement overnight. It is going to take time. And the main crux is for how long would both the sides have patience enough to tolerate one another's conditions. And if difficult conditions are put in by the Taliban or either by Pakistan, then I do not see it going further with any constructive build-up. It is only going to disintegrate the area further, keeping in mind the multiple disturbances with Iran and Balochistan and then Taliban itself. So Pakistan already has enough on its plate. And I certainly feel that Pakistan will succumb to pressure and will agree to a ceasefire and to all halt to hostilities and fighting at the Durand line against the Taliban. And Taliban will definitely have an upper hand in these negotiations because they are already in good terms with China, unlike Pakistan, which leaned towards USA and offered them their rare earth metals and mining industry instead to China. So yes, there are a lot of, there are going to be a lot of doubts in terms of Pakistan's intent and whether they are going to live up to what they are going to say, because a trust deficit is definitely what Pakistan is already known for. And keeping that in mind, Pakistan will have to compromise more compared to any other side. Negotiating.
All right, so Mitatura, you say a breakthrough should not be expected, at least not anytime soon, out of these talks. Thanks, sir, for joining us on this and giving us your analysis. And now, viewers, moving on to developments we're getting from the West Asia. Now, Lebanese military says it's moving its forces from its border as IDF continues to push its forces all across the southern Lebanon. Now, they are repositioning their troops from the border areas to other areas so that IDF continues with its assault all across the southern Lebanon. Now, in a statement that's been released, Lebanese military says that troops had to reposition to prevent besieging dispersed military units and cutting them off from support lines. The military has now gradually withdrawn from a handful of border towns, specifically from a Christian majority, Ramak and Ain Abil, who have appealed to also indicate it continues to stand now by the people to the best of its ability by maintaining a group of soldiers in those towns. Now, that's a statement coming in from Lebanese military as it now withdraws its forces from across the border. Now, we have seen IDF continuously pushing its troops all across southern Lebanon, and people from the border areas have been fleeing. And in order to prevent the isolation of one unit of their military, now they are repositioning their troops from the border areas. All right, viewers, now moving on to more developments. Now, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel, Gideon Issar, now says we have removed the annihilation threat. He also goes on to say we still have bitter and cruel enemies, but they have been struck thigh against thigh. Now, he also says that we do not promise that this will be the last war, but he goes on that we will need to remain vigilant in the future against the schemes of our enemies. He also says we are committed to preserving this achievement. Now, that's the latest statement coming in from Israeli Foreign Minister, who talks about annihilating their threat, their enemies, while also goes on to say that cannot promise that this will be the last war, but says we will continue to remain vigilant to achieve our military objectives. Now that's the statement coming in from the Israeli foreign minister as he talks about eliminating all the threats that are in fact there in front of Israel. All right, viewers, now U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has justified the war against Iran by stating that it was necessary to prevent Iran from developing a conventional shield of missiles as well as drones that could protect its nuclear program from future intervention. Now, in the latest statement, Rubio also accused Iran of pursuing weapons-grade nuclear material. Take a listen.
The United States has been relentless in its attacks on Iran since the war began a month ago. And now, in an attempt to justify this war, US State Secretary Marco Rubio issued a statement where he once again accused Iran of trying to acquire nuclear weapons.
Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it, and that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare, and they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons, and every single time they have turned it down.
Rubio also commented on the timing of the attack and explained why it had to take place now.
Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them, and they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future.
He stressed that this was the last best chance to destroy the Iranian arsenal,
to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build. And the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, Rubio also said that Washington could now see the finish line of the war. The US State Secretary remains confident that the end is coming soon and that messages are being exchanged between Washington and Tehran. He further said that there was a potential for direct meeting between the two nations at some point. However, he also stated that US might have to re-examine its ties with NATO and allied nations. The official Iranian line, on the other hand, is something different. Iran's deputy foreign minister says talks are being held only through intermediaries.
In June, they attacked Iran when we were negotiating, just 1 day or 2 days before the 6th round of negotiation. This time, on 28 February, just 2 days after we negotiated and we agreed to meet again in Vienna for discussing the technical details of a possible agreement. Again, they attacked Iran. So whenever they talk about diplomacy, everyone should approach it with a lot of suspicion. But apart from that, as I said, yes, there has been a communication, messages sent via mediators to Iran. Our position has been very clear. While we are under constant bombardment and missiles, our nation is focused on defending itself.
The world is now well into the 5th week of this war, and United States, while talking of the end game, has already mobilized a massive deployment in the Gulf.
And now, viewers, as the war in West Asia escalates, we are looking at Europe hardening its stance. Now, in the latest, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has clearly made it clear for the NATO as well as for Trump that Iran war is not their war, and therefore the UK will not be dragged into the ongoing conflict. Now, he also said that this does not mean that he's stepping aside, but in fact, he will continue to work in his country's interest. Now, when he was asked about Donald Trump's latest statement about US pulling out of the NATO, the transatlantic military alliance, he also said whatever the noise, he will continue to work for his country's interests. Now, viewers, let's listen in as to what the UK Prime Minister has said on the ongoing war in West Asia as far as his country's stance is concerned.
Let me say once again, this is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way we can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East and a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is such a vital route for energy. Let me say once again, this is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way we can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East and a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is such a vital route for energy.
Now, viewers, are moving into developments coming in from active war zone areas. Now, we're getting some visuals that we will, in fact, show you in just a short while from the aftermath of the attacks that have been carried out inside Tel Aviv. Now, these are latest attacks by Iran using ballistic missiles and cluster munitions that have caused damage all across the Tel Aviv city. Now, on your screen, you can see the aftermath of the latest attack carried out by Iran. You can see how the buildings all across residential areas have been impacted in these latest attacks carried out by Iran using not just ballistic missiles, but also cluster munitions. Right, viewers, and now these are the visuals of the aftermath attack from Tel Aviv, an active war zone area, which shows you how this is, which shows you the impact of the attack carried out by Iran using ballistic missiles and cluster munitions. Now, on your screen, you can see how residential areas have been impacted in Tel Aviv, and also on the ground, you can see forces deployed after the attack has been carried out. Now, it's a residential building in Tel Aviv which has been hit by Iran, and now, in fact, this comes as Iran has been ramping up attacks all across the central region. We are looking at attacks taking place on Jerusalem, Haifa, and this time it's taken on Tel Aviv, Israeli city, getting hit by Iranian missiles. All right, viewers, now moving on to more developments we're getting at this point. Now, the conflict in West Asia rages. Its ripples can now be felt in the Indian aviation sector. Now, citing the Hormuz crisis as one of the major reasons, the government today has now announced a 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes. Now, with this, passengers will now be bracing for airfare hike, whereas experts are saying a prolonged crisis is not good for the aviation economy. Watch this detailed report about the impact of the aviation sector from the war in West Asia.
The war in West Asia has taken a heavy toll, both on energy infrastructure and supply routes. As a result, energy prices across the world are soaring. And now the Indian aviation sector will also feel the heat from this global crisis. This is because aviation turbine fuel has reached a record high and crossed the 2 lakh rupee mark for the first time. The government announced a 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes, citing the constraints on Strait of Hormuz as a prominent reason. While domestic routes will face a 25% hike, foreign routes are set to face a full increase in fuel price consistent with global current rates. As the aviation sector takes a hit due to global energy crisis, Republic also spoke to major energy stakeholders.
There are two parts. As far as crude oil is concerned, there is not much of a problem. Yes, there is on the gas part there is a problem because a Strait of Hormuz, through a Strait of Hormuz, around 60% of our LNG comes. So our LNG requirement is primarily being met by the volume from the Qatar and Oman that is passing through the Strait of Hormuz. So definitely this war-like situation has created disruptions in the country.
A prolonged energy crisis does not look good for the aviation sector.
The Strait of Hormuz, which has been shut down, India is largely dependent upon that. As far as crude is concerned, around 40 to 50% crude comes from Strait of Hormuz, and therefore the supply line, when it cuts down, then we need to look for alternative sources. And I would say country has done well. The authorities, including Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and all the oil companies, I must commend IUC, BPC, HPC, that they have looked for the alternative sources. And with these alternative sources, the crude, there has not been any shortage in our refineries.
As per experts, the energy crisis, if continued, can translate into major economic trouble.
Industries have got some other means to do, but we are trying to see that how the situation eases out. The government has been trying its best to see that the domestic production also increases, though it is a very difficult task. At the same time, we are making the source much more. The base of the source has to be widened so that we can, if one source is dying up, which we have seen in the case of Qatar, then we can definitely see other sources like.
With air fuel prices now significantly increasing, passengers are bracing for an imminent hike in airfares. Experts say the aviation industry can face slowdown, even leading to a recession in global economy if this war does not end soon.
And now viewers, on to what's happening in the poll-bound state of Tamil Nadu. Now, Union Minister and BJP Tamil Nadu election in charge of Piyush Goyal and state BJP President Nagendran has released a charge sheet against the DMK government. Now, this comes ahead of the crucial assembly polls that are now due in Tamil Nadu. Take a look at this report.
In Chennai, BJP has stepped up its poll offensive ahead of the Tamil Nadu Assembly elections, with Union Minister Piyush Goyal and State BJP Chief Nana Nagendran releasing a charge sheet against the DMK government. Senior leaders, including Tamilisai Soundarajan and K. Annamalai, were also present. Nagendran asserted that the NDA alliance is fully finalized, while also expressing confidence of forming the next government in the state.
We are very ready to face that election. We are winning the coming assembly general election.
Plan to swap the assembly constituencies with ADMK because we hear in social media that
social media, all the social media told you think that true things. It's not true, but speculations there.
So everything is finalized now.
Everything finalized. We are going to face the election and winning the election. Our India government will be formed.
On Annamalai's electoral plans, he maintained the decision rests with the leader himself. keeping suspense alive over his candidature.
So there's a lot of speculation that Anil sir is upset with this.
Now he is with us.
So is there any chances that he would be contesting the elections?
Who?
Anil.
He himself decided that if you want to contest, that will be.
And now viewers, coming up on the other side, EC orders suspension and probe against a BDO in West Bengal's Nadia district following violence at the pole training venue.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिंह MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिंह।
जीरा सिंह असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Corrector, the taste of success.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
These talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching live and breaking at 5 p.m. with me, Shavan said. A top focus at this which way is it really headed? President Trump says deal or no deal, they are going to come out of Iran. That's the top focus at this hour. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Iranian media reports IRGC assumes control over government. Reports claim conflict between IRGC and current Iranian government. Trump hits at NATO exit, says he has always doubted NATO's credibility. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says this is not our war, will not fight. Starmer announces meeting nations on Strait of Hormuz. Taliban delegation heads to Beijing. China hosts Pakistan-Afghanistan talks. Government announces 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes. Foreign flight routes to face a full increase as passengers brace for airfare hike. Prime Minister Narendra Modi set to chair a Cabinet Committee on Security meeting this evening. Anil Ambani in big trouble. Central Bureau of Investigation registers FIR based on complaint filed by LIC. As the conflict in West Asia basically rages on, its ripple effects are essentially being felt even here in India, particularly the Indian aviation sector, which has taken a massive hit, citing the Hormuz crisis as one of the major reasons. The government, in fact, today announced a 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes. Now, with this, passengers now are essentially bracing for airfare hike, whereas experts are essentially saying a prolonged crisis is certainly not good for the aviation economy. And not just this, while domestic LPG prices remain consistent, a major hike was also announced for commercial LPG cylinders. On your screens right now, a difference between what was the price earlier and what is it now. And the aviation fuel hike that we are essentially looking at, and the government essentially indicating that this is basically done in a staggered manner so that the impact isn't really felt. In fact, what we have essentially seen with the government making an announcement with regards to what they believe the ATF prices in India were essentially deregulated back in 2001, and they were essentially being revised on a monthly basis that was based on a formula of international benchmarks. Let me go across to my colleague Pranav, who's joining us from the digital newsroom. Pranav, it was certainly on the expected lines, but the government essentially is indicating that this has been done in a staggered manner so that the pinch isn't felt to that extent.
Well, Chavan, yes. In fact, the ministry today morning put out a statement saying that the ATF prices in India were deregulated in 2001 and they're revised every month on the basis of a certain formula that takes into consideration the international crude rates. Now, given that there has been a significant turmoil in crude rates thanks to the Iran war, the ongoing conflict, it has finally been decided that it will be increased, but then it has been capped at 25% for domestic routes, and for international routes it will be 100%. So the airlines that are operating on international routes will have to bear the cost of increase of 100% from April 1, and on domestic routes it will be capped at 25%. So yes, it has been passed on, but then with a capping is what we can say right now.
Well, in fact, in terms of the LPG prices too, it was certainly on the expected lines, but the government once again in the inter-ministerial briefing indicating that the LPG reserves are well in stock, and perhaps, it is a cause of concern given the fact that if at all it continues for another couple of weeks, we are going to feel the pinch of it. There is a substantial hike, in fact, that has come in.
Well, absolutely. In fact, LPG commercial prices have been revised, but then as far as domestic LPG is concerned, the government has said that there is not going to be any hike. So here we are seeing an attempt to shield, the end consumer from passing the increase in the oil prices. Just to give you a perspective on it, Brent as well as oil has fallen over the past about 2 days after Donald Trump hinted, but then oil has overall about 50%, increased by about 50% ever since the war began. So we are seeing an input cost increase of about 50%. Now the government has not passed that on to the end consumer in terms of domestic users, but for commercial users as well as for aviation sector, we are seeing some sort of heat being felt right now.
Well, thank you very much, Pranav, for getting us the latest details. Well, in fact, what does this essentially mean for you and I when it comes to taking a flight? In fact, does it mean that there is going to be an immediate price hike as far as airfares are concerned? Or perhaps we're going to see this happening in a staggered manner? Take a look at this detailed report.
The war in West Asia has taken a heavy toll, both on energy infrastructure and supply routes. As a result, energy prices across the world are soaring. And now the Indian aviation sector will also feel the heat from this global crisis. This is because aviation turbine fuel has reached a record high and crossed the 2 lakh rupee mark for the first time. The government announced a 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes, citing the constraints on Strait of Hormuz as a prominent reason. While domestic routes will face a 25% hike, foreign routes are set to face a full increase in fuel price consistent with global current rates. As the aviation sector takes a hit due to global energy crisis, Republic also spoke to major energy stakeholders.
There are two parts. As far as crude oil is concerned, there is not much of a problem. Yes, there is on the gas part there is a problem because a Strait of Hormuz, through a Strait of Hormuz, around 60% of our LNG comes. So our LNG requirement is primarily being met by the volume from the Qatar and Oman that is passing through the Strait of Hormuz. So definitely this war-like situation has created disruptions in the country.
A prolonged energy crisis does not look good for the aviation sector.
The Strait of Hormuz, which has been shut down, India is largely dependent upon that. As far as crude is concerned, around 40 to 50% crude comes from Strait of Hormuz, and therefore the supply line, when it cuts down, then we need to look for alternative sources. And I would say country has done well. The authorities, including Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and all the oil companies, I must commend IUC, BPC, HPC, that they have looked for the alternative sources. And with these alternative sources, the crude, there has not been any shortage in our refineries.
As per experts, the energy crisis, if continued, can translate into major economic trouble.
Industries have got some other means to do, but we are trying to see that how the situation eases out. The government has been trying its best to see that the domestic production also increases, though it is a very difficult task. At the same time, we are making the source much more. The base of the source has to be widened so that we can, if one source is dying up, which we have seen in the case of Qatar, then we can definitely see other sources like.
With air fuel prices now significantly increasing, passengers are bracing for an imminent hike in airfares. Experts say the aviation industry can face slowdown, even leading to a recession in global economy if this war does not end soon.
Iranian parliamentary leader has essentially once again made the position of Strait of Hormuz extremely clear. The head of Iran's National Security Commission has said that Strait of Hormuz will be opened, but not essentially for their enemies. In fact, indicating that as far as United States of America and Israel are concerned, vessels essentially would not be passing through Strait of Hormuz. And this is a strategic decision that has been taken during wartime. In fact, indicating that allies and friends of Iran would be given a free pass as far as Strait of Hormuz is concerned. But when it comes to vessels coming in from US and Israel, would essentially be blocked further. In fact, Gulf nations have heavily criticized this decision of the Iranians, saying that in a free navigational world, these decisions perhaps goes against international laws. But having said that, Iranians have made it abundantly clear that these are wartime decisions that have been taken. And in fact, they have been left with no other choice but to respond in the manner that they have so far. In fact, another breaking news now coming in. There appears to be a rift between the IRGC and the Iranian government. IRGC, in fact, has taken de facto control of the government. Now, this is coming in from Iranian media. IRGC has assumed control over the government functioning. In fact, they've blocked presidential appointments and decisions. This comes at a time, I believe there is also a report that has been put out by the Iranian media with regards to the fact that what we are given to understand that the decision was taken after some reports of the Iranian president appointing a new intelligence minister was basically blocked by the IRGC. Now, it is perhaps well known within power corridors that perhaps The Iranian president happens to be a lame duck president right now, given the fact that there are very limited powers that he has. Let me go across to my colleague Ishita, who's joining us on this broadcast. Ishita, it appears that the Iranian president was making a fresh appointment of the intelligence minister. The previous intelligence minister was eliminated, and I'm given to understand the Iranian media is essentially indicating that that appointment was blocked by the IRGC.
Right, of course, there's a rift that's now growing between IRGC and President Masoud Pezeshkian. This was visible in the appointment of the intelligence minister. Now, last week, President is the one who has the authority to appoint an intelligence minister, but this video was, in fact, blocked by IRGC. Now, we're looking not just that, in fact, other presidential appointments and decisions are also being blocked by IRGC, and there's a military council comprising of senior IRGC commanders, which has now effectively taken control of all the decisions that are being taken by Iran during this time. Now, IRGC is clear that it's wartime, and therefore it's the militia leaders which should be in a charge rather than a president, and therefore President Masoud Pezeshkian, who's been also trying to meet with the Mojtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader now, his appointments has been blocked. He's not been allowed to meet the leader, and with the fate, of course, of Mojtaba Khamenei also unclear, it does look like that IRGC has effectively now gained control over the leadership of Iran. Now, we have seen the IRGC, of course, are taking decisions ever since the war started, but now the rift is out in the open, and it's very explicit that it is IRGC in Iran which is calling the shots and not President Masoud Pezeshkian or any other top leadership from the executive structure.
One quick question, Ishita, before I let you go, because I'm told that there is also another breaking news now coming in with regards to NATO's first response on what was seen as a threat coming in from Donald Trump. But just a quick question with regards to the IRGC press briefing that has happened a short while back. Are they also making a mention of the fact that some of those posts that are now lying vacant after their leaders have been eliminated, for instance, the defense minister, are they making any indication as to who exactly will be making those decisions now? Will it be essentially the supreme leader, or would that be the IRGC?
Of Iran, which is followed in the country, it is the supreme authority, the supreme leader, which is Mojtaba Khamenei, who's set to take these decisions. It is a president's approval. He basically takes approval from the supreme leader. But right now, IRGC has made it clear that in these war times, in the times of crisis, IRGC will be taking all the calls with regards to the appointments of the new ministers, all the replacements that have now to be named in. It is the IRGC which is saying it will be taking all the calls.
Well, thank you very much, Ishita, for getting us the latest details. Well, in fact, let me also take you through another breaking news now coming in, where the Iranians have once again put out a full video of missiles that have been launched, in fact, evading the air defense in Israel, hitting a US base in West Asia is what we're being told. We'll try and put out that video that has just come in a short while back, with the Iranian media essentially quoting the IRGC, saying that this is a fresh wave of strikes that have been carried out. This amidst talks that are essentially going on, whether at all there is a mediation between Iran and others. In fact, Iran's foreign minister, in an interview to a Western media outlet, has indicated that while he's getting direct messages from Steve Witkoff, but not essentially a direct negotiation between Iran and United States of America. And that perhaps explains why the strikes still continue. In fact, it seems that some energy infrastructure was also being targeted. That's the latest now coming in. Let's go full frame with these images that have now come in of Iran hitting a US base. Effectively, Iran maintaining that they are not going to stop the strikes. And when it comes to the United States of America, that is essentially going to continue. And they believe that their enemies, which is America and Israel, would still be the target. Well, shifting focus now to some election news coming in from Tamil Nadu. In fact, a short while back, my colleague Sharda spoke to Udayanidhi Stalin, who has now been one of the main campaign faces of the party. In fact, a short while back, speaking to my colleague Sharda, he's essentially taken on EPS. In fact, he says that he's sorry to EPS if he feels he has badmouthed him anyway. In fact, Udayanidhi is going to be filing his nominations tomorrow. And once again, on the question of freebies, he's saying that these are not freebies, these are welfare schemes that have been taken out by the government. An exclusive coming in from Chennai.
Sir, you started your campaign. It's been 3 days. How has the response been?
The response is very good. We are very, very positive. I have almost finished around 12 constituencies. Everywhere I'm going, I'm seeing women voters gathering and showing their support, women and youngsters. And we are very confident of a landslide victory.
So with the manifesto coming out, there's always the AIDMK and BJP constantly pointing out that these welfare schemes are only increasing the debt of the government, and it's no more a welfare scheme, no more a freebie scheme, is no more attractive.
No, the people of Tamil Nadu will decide. We have given promises, we have kept our promises. So people of Tamil Nadu are very confident. Whoever can, anybody can give promises, but only our leader, only DMK has always been in the habit of fulfilling the promises. So people believe in whatever our leader says.
So also taking into consideration, Edappadi Palaniswamy has recently alleged that you've been bad-mouthing him. You're also criticizing him for his...
Please tell me, no, can you please point out one incident where I have bad-mouthed? If I have bad-mouthed, I'm saying my sorry to him. I have never bad-mouthed about any leader in that case.
So one last question also, sir. Right now your campaign started, and most of the time you've been pointing out that the fight is against the India and Tamil Nadu. Is your ideological avenue, though being BJP, is this election fight between AIDMK or DMK versus BJP?
No, this is a fight between Tamil Nadu and Delhi. Tamil Nadu team versus Delhi team. Because Delhi is trying to take control of Tamil Nadu like all the other states. But they've continuously failed in that agenda. Yes, definitely this is an ideological war, and definitely people of Tamil Nadu, our Tamil ideology, our Dravidian ideology will win.
So when will you bring your nominations?
I'm planning to do it tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, you started your campaign. It's been 3 days. How has the response been?
The response is very good. We are very, very positive. I have almost finished around 12 constituencies. Everywhere I'm going, I'm seeing women voters gathering and showing their support, women and youngsters. And we are very confident of a landslide victory.
So with the manifesto coming out, there's always the AIDMK and BJP constantly pointing out that these welfare schemes are only increasing the debt of the government, and it's no more a welfare scheme, no more a freebie scheme, is no more attractive.
No, the people of Tamil Nadu will decide. We have given promises, we have kept our promises. So people of Tamil Nadu are very confident. Whoever can, anybody can give promises, but only our leader, only DMK has always been in the habit of fulfilling the promises. So people believe in whatever our leader says.
So also taking into consideration, Edappadi Palaniswamy has recently alleged that you've been bad-mouthing him. You're also criticizing him for his...
Please tell me, no, can you please point out one incident where I have bad-mouthed? If I have bad-mouthed, I'm saying my sorry to him. I have never bad-mouthed about any leader in that case.
So one last question also, sir. Right now your campaign started, and most of the time you've been pointing out that the fight is against the India and Tamil Nadu. Is your ideological avenue, though being BJP, is this election fight between AIDMK or DMK versus BJP?
No, this is a fight between Tamil Nadu and Delhi. Tamil Nadu team versus Delhi team. Because Delhi is trying to take control of Tamil Nadu like all the other states. But they've continuously failed in that agenda. Yes, definitely this is an ideological war, and definitely people of Tamil Nadu, our Tamil ideology, our Dravidian ideology will win.
So when will you bring your nominations?
I'm planning to do it tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Union Minister and BJP Tamil Nadu election in charge Piyush Goyal and State BJP President Nayanar has essentially released what they're calling a charge sheet, that too against the DMK government for the upcoming Tamil Nadu Assembly polls. Take a look at this report.
In Chennai, BJP has stepped up its poll offensive ahead of the Tamil Nadu Assembly elections. with Union Minister Piyush Goyal and State BJP Chief Nana Nagendran releasing a charge sheet against the DMK government. Senior leaders, including Tamilisai Soundarajan and K. Annamalai, were also present. Nagendran asserted that the NDA alliance is fully finalized, while also expressing confidence of forming the next government in the state.
We are very ready to face that election. We are winning the coming Assembly general election.
Plan to swap the Assembly constituencies with VDMK because we hear in social media that
social media, all the social media told you think that true things. It's not true, but speculations there.
So everything is finalized now.
Everything finalized. We are going to face the election and winning the election. Our India government will be formed.
On Annamalai's electoral plans, he maintained the decision rests with the leader himself, keeping suspense alive over his candidature.
So there's a lot of speculation that Annamalai sir is upset with this.
Now he is with us.
So is there any chances that he would be contesting the elections?
Who?
Annamalai.
He himself decided that if you want to contest, that will be.
For the first time in 50 years, we see yet again astronauts landing in moon. The moon mission of NASA, Artemis II launch pad images that are now on your screens. NASA's Artemis II mission will be taking the crew further than humans have ever ventured in space before. In fact, these are the latest images now coming in from the launch pad. In fact, we are given to understand that this is NASA's 4-part lunar exploration program. In fact, it was essentially planned that between 1st of April and 6th of April where the launch is going to take place. But in fact, at last moment, there have been certain changes after liquid hydrogen leak was reported during a practice launch and essentially forcing the agency to delay the operation. And the space agency is now basically aiming for a launch window of about 1st to 6th of April.
Says he's thinking of pulling out of NATO. This after NATO members refused to join his war against Iran, clearly stating that this is not their conflict. Now the big question, will the military transatlantic alliance stand the test of time or will it crumble under the weight of West Asia war? Catch all that with me, Ishita Mitra, on 6 Stories at 6 today.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं, इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
A very good evening. You're watching Live and Breaking. I'm Rakshita Mishra with you. Let's get started with the top story that we're tracking for you. Iranian media reports suggest that the IRGC has taken de facto control of Iran. Reports claim there's a conflict between IRGC and current Iranian government. So IRGC assuming control over the government. Trump hints at NATO exit, says he has always doubted NATO's credibility, calls it a paper tiger. Not our war, says UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and that they will not fight this war. Starmer announces meeting nations on the Strait of Hormuz crisis. Taliban delegation heads to Beijing. China hosts Pakistan-Afghan talks. Government announced a 25% hike in air turbine fuel, that is jet fuel, for domestic routes. Foreign flights routes to face a full increase as passengers brace for the hike. Prime Minister Narendra Modi set to chair Cabinet Committee meeting on security this evening. And Anil Ambani in big trouble. CBI registers an FIR now based on complaint filed by the LIC. All right, breaking news coming in. Iranian army conducts retaliatory drone strikes targeting American AWACS and aerial refueling aircraft stationed at US bases in the region. This is the visual that has been released by Iran, and there are retaliatory strikes that have been conducted by drones targeting the American AWACS and, of course, the refueling aircraft station, trying to target the air power of America, radars, refueling, everything on target of. And just 3 days back too, Iran had claimed of striking US AWACS aircraft in Saudi Arabia as well. The key E-3 AWACS were damaged in an Iranian attack in Saudi airbase earlier. And we have some more breaking news continuing. We have more important updates coming in fact, viewers. So amid all this, gone on to now call the NATO a paper tiger, and also saying that never swayed by the NATO anyway. Allies failed to back US military action. And we've seen, viewers, that the NATO has not been with Donald Trump in this war that US and Israel have started. Now, Trump says that he always doubted NATO's credibility. In fact, even Keir Starmer today said, while UK allows the air bases to be used, Starmer says that we are not, this is not our war. So there you have the frustration that is only now on a boil as far as Trump is concerned. So let me just play out what Keir Starmer has said, viewers. So we've seen that how Keir Starmer has made it very, very clear that this is not in the UK's national interest. We'll just play that out, what Keir Starmer has said. He has declared that the war in West Asia is not UK's war and that UK will not be dragged into it. I've said it, I've said it. Play that out. Let's play that bite out of Keir Starmer.
NATO is the single most effective military alliance the world has ever seen. And it has kept us safe for many decades, and we are fully committed to NATO. Secondly, that whatever the pressure on me and others, whatever the noise, I'm going to act in the British national interest in all the decisions that I make. And that's why I've been absolutely clear that this is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it. But I'm equally clear that when it comes to defence and security and our economic future, we have to have closer ties with Europe.
We have now France also reacting. In fact, the French Army's junior minister, France junior minister, says that France has once again basically snubbed Trump on this, saying that NATO is a military alliance on Euro-Atlantic area. And they've said that it will not carry out operation in Strait of Hormuz that does not respect international law. So there you have the French minister very clearly saying that that this is a war that does not really concern the Euro-Atlantic area and NATO functions over there, plus that it will not carry out operations in situations where there is no respect for international law. Trump has been time and again urging the countries to go to the Strait of Hormuz and just get it moving, get the ships moving, bring their warships, but he has no takers. And now you have France also saying that there's no point in this. And that this is something that does not even, very importantly, as we mentioned, does not respect international law. Meanwhile, viewers, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has justified the war against Iran by stating it was necessary to prevent Tehran from developing a conventional shield of missiles. Now, they're talking about conventional shields. For some reason, they've not talked about nuclear. And they're also saying that wants to prevent Iran from making drones that could protect its nuclear program from intervention. Now, in his latest statement, Rubio also accused Iran of producing weapons grade, that are nuclear grade. The material that is being used is of nuclear grade. Take a look.
The United States has been relentless in its attacks on Iran since the war began a month ago. And now, in an attempt to justify this war, US State Secretary Marco Rubio issued a statement where he once again accused Iran of trying to acquire nuclear weapons.
Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it, and that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare, and they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons, and every single time they have turned it down.
Rubio also commented on the timing of the attack and explained why it had to take place now.
Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them, and they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future.
He stressed that this was the last best chance to destroy the Iranian arsenal.
to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build, and the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, Rubio also said that Washington could now see the finish line of the war. The US State Secretary remains confident that the end is coming soon and that messages are being exchanged between Washington and Tehran. He further said that there was a potential for direct meeting between the two nations at some point. However, he also stated that US might have to re-examine its ties with NATO and allied nations. The official Iranian line, on the other hand, is something different. Iran's deputy foreign minister says talks are being held only through intermediaries.
In June, they attacked Iran when we were negotiating, just 1 day or 2 days before the 6th round of negotiation. This time, on 28 February, just 2 days after we negotiated and we agreed to meet again in Vienna for discussing the technical details of a possible agreement. Again, they attacked Iran. So whenever they talk about diplomacy, everyone should approach it with a lot of suspicion. But apart from that, as I said, yes, there has been a communication, messages sent via mediators to Iran. Our position has been very clear. While we are under constant bombardment and missiles, our nation is focused on defending itself.
The world is now well into the 5th week of this war, and United States, while talking of the end game, has already mobilized a massive deployment in the Gulf.
All right, we have breaking news coming in right now. And a drone attack has hit northern Iraq's fuel warehouse that is linked to British oil and natural gas giant BP. Now, it's a multi-drone attack that's been reported, and it has hit the fuel warehouse that's linked to British oil and natural gas giant BP. It's in northern Iraq, and it's a firm operating the facility, and no casualties have been reported so far. The attack on the motor oil warehouse occurred in Erbil. That's the capital city of Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region, the Sardar Group, a major automotive group in Iraq. And the facility is owned by Castrol, that's a subsidiary of BP. So this statement that comes in, it suggests that the first drone hit the facility before it was attacked again with in fact, 2 more drones. So there have been multiple drone attacks. Firefighters combating the fire, but the attack started a massive fire that sent a column of black smoke into the air, according to footage that is circulating on social media. I'm playing that out right now. That's video from Erbil in northern Iraq's Kurdish region, and no casualties reported so far, but you can see the thick black plume of smoke that suggests that it's an old facility that has been hit. As a big one, it's owned by Castrol, subsidiary of the British giant BP. And viewers, meanwhile, Israel's aggressive bombardment against Hezbollah in Beirut continues. Defense Minister of Israel, Katz, has threatened to destroy all houses along the southern Lebanon border and the nearby villages. Now, Israel has warned that it will destroy all the houses in the Lebanese villages, and 600,000 people who fled the south will not be able to return home until northern Israel is secure. In fact, Katz went on to say that Israeli troops would stay in that area seized during its invasion. Take a look at this ground report.
Israel is trying to push Hezbollah militants out of southern Lebanon. But Hezbollah continues to resist, firing rockets across the border into Israel. And now, Israel's defense minister says the campaign could morph into a prolonged occupation along the southern parts of Lebanon.
בסיומה של הפעולה, צה"ל התייצב במרחב ביטחון בתוך לבנון, בקו הגנה מול טילי הנ"ט, וישלוט ביטחונית בכל המרחב עד הליטני, כולל גשרי הליטני שנשארו, תוך חיסול כוחות רדואן שחדרו למרחב והשמדת כל אמצעי הלחימה שנמצאים שם. בנוסף, תיאסר באופן מוחלט חזרתם דרומית לליטני של למעלה מ-600,000 תושבי דרום לבנון שהתפנו צפונה עד שיובטח ביטחונם ושלומם של תושבי הצפון.
Israel wants to take control of approximately 30 kilometers of land north of the Israeli-Lebanon border. Defense Minister Katz also said that villages along the region would be evacuated.
כל הבתים בכפרים סמוכי הגבול בלבנון יהרסו בהתאם למודל רפיח ובית חנון בעזה כדי להסיר אחת ולתמיד את האיומים סמוכי הגבול מעל תושבי הצפון.
Meanwhile, the ongoing Israeli operation inside Lebanon is exacting a heavy toll. The Israeli representative to the United Nations Security Council said that the death of 3 UN peacekeepers in the region were due to an explosive set-off by the Hezbollah.
אנחנו נחושים להפריד את לבנון מזירת איראן ולעקור את שיני הנחש ולהסיר מהחיזבאללה את יכולת האיום ולשנות אחת ולתמיד את המצב בלבנון עם נוכחות ביטחונית של צה"ל במקומות נדרשים תוך אכיפה קפדנית והרתעה מוחלטת. בדיוק כמו בסוריה ובעזה, כך גם בלבנון.
The war inside Lebanon is also exacting a toll on the IDF. 4 IDF soldiers were killed and 2 others were injured. Citizens are paying the price for the Israeli invasion into Lebanon. As per reports, more than 12 lakh people have been displaced from Lebanon since the outbreak of the war, and the number is only expected to rise further.
Right, we have breaking news coming in right now. So the Lebanese army says its forces have largely withdrawn from some border towns as Israeli troops continue to push through southern Lebanon in their ground operations, in their ground offensive. It said in a statement, the Lebanese military said that troops had to reposition to prevent besieging dispersed military units and cutting them off from support lines. Military gradually withdrawn from a handful of border towns, notably the remaining residents of Christian majority areas who have appealed to the Lebanese military to stay. In fact, the Lebanese military says that it continues to stand by the people to the best of its ability, maintaining a group of soldiers in those towns. So you see the movement in southern Lebanon, and Israel had declared the southern Lebanon up until the Litani River will be a security zone now in its ongoing war with the Hezbollah, and residents will not be able to return until further notice. And we was in amidst all this, over 1 million people in Lebanon have been displaced over the past month. So there's a crisis, of course, unfolding in Lebanon as well. And Lebanese military says it has withdrawn from some towns along the border, with the Israeli forces advancing in their ground operation. So we'll just try and show you more updates that are coming in from West Asia viewers. The situation is dire as far as southern Lebanon is concerned. There are, of course, experts also say that this is going to be sort of a Gaza-like situation that we are looking at right now. They're trying to make a buffer zone there, just like the one in Gaza, and that has, of course, created this movement of the Lebanese forces as well, that has led to the forces being, what Lebanese army says, being repositioned. And in fact, viewers, we'll also tell you now what Israeli Prime Minister is saying. Netanyahu claims that the joint Israel-US military operation against Iran has systematically crushed Iran and left its military capabilities considerably weakened. There's more in this report.
Marking the 1-month anniversary of the joint US-Israeli operation against Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israeli forces had been systematically crushing the Tehran regime.
במלאת חודש למערכה המשותפת שלנו ולארצות הברית, אנחנו קודשים בשיטתיות את משטר האימים שקרה במשך עשרות שנים, מוות לאמריקה, מוות לישראל.
Netanyahu said Iran still had a limited launch capability to threaten Israel but could no longer threaten its existence.
שברנו את כוחם של צבאות הטרור של איראן שהקיפו אותנו בטבעת חנק. זה נכון, יש להם עדיין יכולת שיורית לאיים עלינו, אבל הם כבר אינם יכולים לאיים על קיומנו, לשגר רבבות טילים בליסטיים ורקטות שנועדו להחריב את ערי ישראל.
Netanyahu praised a decooperation with the US and said he hoped to soon be able to speak about new alliances in the region.
לפני המבצעים נלחמנו לבד נגד איראן. היום אנחנו נלחמים כתף אל כתף עם ארצות הברית, בשיתוף פעולה היסטורי חסר תקדים בין הנשיא טראמפ לביני ובין צבא ארצות הברית וצבא ההגנה לישראל. לא רק שחיזקנו את הברית עם ארצות הברית, אנחנו גם יוצרים בריתות חדשות עם מדינות חשובות באזור נגד האיום האיראני המשותף, ואני מקווה שבקרוב, אזרחי ישראל, אני אוכל לספר לכם יותר על הבריתות החשובות האלה.
The Israeli Prime Minister further asserted buffer zones beyond Israeli borders were established to keep off invasions.
ביססנו רצועות ביטחון עמוק מעבר לגבולותינו. בעזה, למעלה ממחצית שטח הרצועה. בסוריה, מכתר החרמון ועד הירמוך. ובלבנון, באזור חיץ נרחב שמסכל את איום הפלישה ומרחיק את איום ירי טילי הנ"ט על יישובינו.
Netanyahu asserted Iran has been launching fewer missiles now than at the start of the war, but continues to deploy more low-lying drones that are harder to intercept. The conflict has killed more than 3,000 people in the region, and millions have been displaced in Lebanon and Iran.
All right, meanwhile, fresh tensions are flaring up in West Asia as Iran issues a provocative warning now, targeting the American companies operating in the region, raising concerns of a dangerous expansion of this conflict beyond the military zones, even as Washington, D.C. asserts it is fully in control, it's fully prepared to respond to such strikes. In fact, U.S. President Donald J. Trump has downplayed this threat from Iran, questioning the intent of Iran and the capability of Iran as well. But the rhetoric, if you see, ladies and gentlemen, from both the sides is signaling a standoff that's only deepening with global implications. Here's more.
Tensions in West Asia are spiraling once again, with Iran issuing a stark warning that has shocked global markets. Tehran has threatened to target American companies operating in the region. About 10 major tech firms, including Google, Amazon, and many more, calling them legitimate targets. IRGC claims that several US companies have been actively assisting both the United States and Israel through advanced artificial intelligence and surveillance technologies. According to Tehran, these technologies have been used to identify and track and target top Iranian military and intelligence leaders, many of whom were killed in precision strikes over the past few weeks, including Iranian Navy Chief Ali Reza Tangsiri. Iran alleges that these firms are not just bystanders, but key enablers in what it calls targeted assassinations, with AI systems helping process vast amounts of data to pinpoint high-value individuals. Washington, however, has responded with a firm stance, making it clear that US forces are fully prepared to counter any aggression.
Made a statement. What did they threaten them with? I don't know. Tell me, how did they threaten them? You don't even know what the threat was. What was the threat? I haven't heard it. What was the threat? Did they say they're going to blow them up? They're going to hit them? They're not. You know what they're not going to do? They're not going to hit them with a nuclear weapon. Most of those people are dead already.
With both sides unwilling to back down, the situation remains on edge, and the world watches closely as West Asia stands at the brink of another potential flashpoint.
Right, we have some breaking news coming in right now, viewers. This is an incident that is being reported from Chandigarh. Explosion has been heard outside BJP headquarters in Chandigarh, and That's the preliminary information. Alert has been sounded in Chandigarh following the explosion outside the BJP headquarters. So that's, of course, a very concerning situation. We do not have anything as far as what is behind this explosion. We'll try and connect for more with our correspondents for more understanding of as to what really has happened. But this is an explosion that has been heard outside the BJP headquarters in Chandigarh, and now alert has been sounded in Chandigarh following this report. I'll try and get you more details. The blast reported outside the BJP office. Police have reached the spot. Police is investigating the matter. We'll just play out those visuals that we have received. Police is at the spot. This is near the headquarters of BJP in Chandigarh, and the police has been rushed to the spot. They are present at the spot as we speak, and they are currently investigating the matter. We do not have any official word right now, as of now, from the police as to what really has happened, what has caused this blast, and has there been any damage. We do not know this right now. And you've seen that BJP had, in fact, this is an important headquarters. It had last year, just a year ago, it was shifted from Rohtak to Panchkula, and this is now coming in from outside the headquarters. That there's an explosion that has been reported. We're waiting for more updates on that development. Okay, this is the update that we have. That's a fresh visual. We can see a scooter that is being parked. I don't know if it's damaged. These are the visuals of the aftermath. You can see right now, this is a visual. We'll try and show more. This is how there's some damage you can see in the vehicle. And there's a car that has been damaged. Lalit, my colleague, joins us live on the broadcast. Lalit, tell us more details about this blast, please.
Half an hour before in Chandigarh in sector 37, a blast has been reported in this scooty. The blast has been reported outside the Punjab BJP head, which is located in sector 37 in Chandigarh. A scooter was blasted in that, and as per the inputs what the Republic TV has access right now, police is further investigating this whole matter. If we talk about half an hour before when the blast took place, the information, police have already reached the spot and the area has been completely turned off. Apart from that, the forensic team has already reached the spot and are trying to look after what was the reason of this spot. So the Chandigarh SSP Kamaldeep has already reached the spot and the area has been cordoned off. Luckily, no one has been hurt in this explosion. While now police is looking after the CCTV footage, which is located in the nearby areas. So half an hour before, explosion was being reported in sector 37 outside the BJP office in the scooty which was parked there. Back to the studio.
Right. Any information as to what really caused this? Because we see that the shrapnel has been found. There's a scooty that can be seen damaged. Any other information as to nature of the blast is concerned?
Right now police is looking after and is further investigating the whole matter. As per the initial inputs, luckily no one has been hurt, but yes, it's the BJP offices nearby and the scooty was parked nearby. So police is looking after on all angles and police is right now taking the CCTV footages of the nearby areas. Half an hour before when this blast took place, luckily no one was there, but the scooty has been damaged, and after the blast, very soon the police could be seen reaching the spot. The area has been completely cordoned off and police is further looking after this matter. Back to the studio.
Right, we'll just come back to you in short while from now as you try and get more information on this development. Serious incident has been reported from the BJP headquarters, Chandigarh. We'll be right back, viewers, with more on this.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिर्फ MDH का जल जीरा जीरा सिर्फ
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है।
All right, viewers, we have some breaking news coming in. Explosion has now been reported outside Punjab BJP headquarters in Chandigarh, in the capital city. In fact, now we're looking at some explosion taking place outside BJP headquarters. It's a breaking news development. We're still awaiting more details about the damage caused and if there have been any casualties. But the latest is that there has been an explosion now reported. In fact, the police have already reached the spot and investigation has begun in this case. We're getting you live visuals, in fact, from outside the BJP headquarters in Punjab. This is where explosion has been reported in Chandigarh. All right, my colleague who's present on the spot is now going to help us with more details. Lalit, what do we know about this blast?
If you talk about this blast, it has taken place half an hour before outside the BJP headquarters in Chandigarh, which is located in sector 37. After the blast, now police have already reached the spot. The Chandigarh police with the forensic investigation team have already reached the spot and they are further looking after this whole matter. Apart from that, if we talk about, luckily no one has been hurt in this explosion which has taken place, but the police is taking after this matter, whole matter, as the CCTV footage from the nearby areas has been taken into account. So police is further investigating this whole matter. The area has been cordoned off after the blast. The forensic team has already reached the spot. The CFSL team could be seen collecting the samples and they are further looking after this whole matter.
All right, Lalit, so as of now, CFSL team and police, they both reached the spot. No casualties reported and the entire area around the BJP headquarters has been cordoned off. Do we know anything about the investigation so far?
Well, if we talk about the investigation, investigation is going on in this matter. As the blast which has taken place in Chandigarh, it has taken place outside the Chandigarh in sector 37, which is the headquarters of the Punjab BJP. So already the Chandigarh SSP have reached the spot. Apart from that, the CFSL team, the forensic team are taking after the sample. What type of blast was it? In this blast, when this blast took place, after that, the area has been cordoned off. So police is looking after all possible angles of this blast, but luckily, no one has been hurt in this blast.
Right, so all angles are right now being probed in this blast. Do we know anything about the explosives which were used in this explosion, Lalit?
Right now, police is investigating this whole matter. Police is tight-lipped as the team is further doing the investigation, as the CFSL Chandigarh team, the forensic team have already reached the spot. They are looking after all possible angles behind the blast. And further, after the samples which right now also the CFSL team is taking outside the office, they have made a complete graph of all the things of the events which have taken place. So the scrutiny is also being taken into account. The number is C801DB6033. So they are looking after all possible angles of the city also. And what is the cause? By what time did the blast took place? So on all possible angles right now, police is further investigating this whole matter. Back to the studio.
All right. So at this point, we are looking at investigation. All angles are being probed right after this blast took place outside BJP headquarters in Chandigarh. Now, Lalit, do we know anything about the leaders which were present inside the headquarters at the time of the blast?
Well, if you talk about the leader, that time the Punjab chief spokesperson Beneficiaries Joshi had been there, and he was the one who had listened about the blast when this blast took place around 5:15 in the evening, and after that he informed the Chandigarh police. Right now with us is also the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Beneficiaries Joshi. He will further tell you by what time this whole blast took place. I'm just handing over the headphones to Mr. Beneficiaries Joshi.
All right, so at this point, the latest that we know about this explosion is that entire area has been cordoned off. Police, CSFL, all their teams are present on the spot, and no casualties were reported in this explosion that took place right outside the BJP headquarters in Chandigarh. And at this point, all angles are being probed. What exactly triggered this blast? Who were behind this explosion? And what kind of explosives were used in this blast? Now, all angles, viewers, are being probed at this point, but good news is that no casualties have been reported in this explosion. And you can see on your screen also how CSFL team, police, they are on the spot, and the entire area around the BJP headquarters, a building, has been cordoned off at this point of time. My colleague Lalit is still with us. He's getting us all the latest updates on this. All right, we'll try to connect with him later. But viewers, that's the big breaking news of this hour. An explosion has now been reported outside BJP's headquarters in Chandigarh. It is the Sector 37 BJP office, outside which the explosion was reported. At this point, you can see on your screen the entire area, the entire perimeter around the headquarters has been cordoned off. You have a CFSL team, police, all have reached the spot to conduct investigation. And more questions will be answered as investigation, of course, goes ahead. But right now, no casualties have been reported in this blast that took place outside BJP's office in Sector 37 of Chandigarh. That's the big takeaway we are picking up at this moment. And police, of course, is conducting investigation into the cause of the blast, which is still not clear at this point. What exactly triggered the blast? Who planted this explosive outside the BJP headquarters? All of these details are yet to be ascertained. But as you can see on your screen right now, the investigation is still underway. They're collecting the evidence from the site of the attack from outside the BJP headquarters. You can see on your screen how CFSL team, all their members are still collecting the evidence from the site of the attack. Now, this took place outside BJP's headquarters. It is a big news as political leaders could be the target of this explosion, but fortunately, no leaders have been caused, no harm has been caused in this explosion, and no casualties have taken place. But right now, investigation is still on to uncover more answers. You can see on your screen also how the entire stretch around the headquarters has been cordoned off. Police on the spot along with the CSFL team to try and get more evidence about this blast. All right, Lalit now joins us live for more updates on this. Lalit, do tell us, where are we with the investigation? We, of course, can see the entire area being cordoned off and CSFL team now conducting their investigation. All right, Lalit, do tell us what's exactly the stage of the investigation so far. Now, the entire area has been cordoned off, and it seems the team is now collecting some evidence from the site.
5:15 p.m. in the evening, a blast has been reported outside the BJP headquarters of Punjab, which is located in sector 37 in Chandigarh. So, after the blast, the police team have already reached the spot and they are further investigating this whole matter. You can see behind me that the CFSL Chandigarh team could be seen collecting the samples. A team could be seen taking out all these samples. Apart from that, you can see the scooty which has been outside, and which you can see that the numbering is being done by the CFSL team. The scooty was parked, and the Activa was parked when this blast took place. Immediately after the blast, the Chandigarh police have already reached the spot. They are further investigating this whole matter. The area has been cordoned off, as the main point is that the blast has taken place outside the BJP headquarters, which is located in sector 37 Chandigarh. So these are the visuals which you can see that this is the BJP headquarters of Chandigarh behind me, and outside just the scooty was being parked. So this is the security force now which has been deployed outside the BJP headquarters after the blast took place. The whole area, you can see, has been cordoned off, and police is further looking after this whole matter. So around 5:15 in the evening, this blast took place. Right now with us is the BJP team members of the Sector 37 office. जानना चाहेंगे कितने बजे के आसपास के ब्लास्ट हुआ, क्या हुआ?
4 बजे हम अंदर बैठे थे हाँ तो अचानक एक आवाज आई बहुत जोर, ऐसे लगा कि 2 गाड़ियां गिर गई वहां और आगे देखा तो पार्किंग में गुबार था, उड़ रहा था धुआं और व्यक्ति को देखा स्कूटर में कुछ ब्लास्ट टाइप हुआ, चेतन एक कार का शीशा टूटा हुआ है, उसके बाद पुलिस आ गई है।
जब ये ब्लास्ट हुआ उस समय कोई हताहत तो नहीं हुआ है?
कोई नहीं होता।
अच्छा एक चीज बताइए, ये जो स्कूटी है ये किसकी स्कूटी है? अपने एम्प्लॉइज की स्कूटी है? कौन है वो, क्या काम करता है यहाँ पे? IT विभाग में काम करता है। तो ये आपका अपना एम्प्लॉय है?
जो कार डैमेज हुई है वो भी हमारा एम्प्लॉय।
अच्छा, नहीं तो ब्लास्ट कितनी जोर से हुआ था?
बहुत जोर, मुझे लगा कि 2 गाड़ियां गोली मारी है किसी ने, जब
so as per the eyewitness who have listened the explosion sound, they said that around 4:45 p.m. in the evening this blast took place, and there was a cloud of smoke after the blast, and after that the police was being informed, and immediately police have reached the spot. The Chandigarh SSP could be seen further investigating this whole matter. The complete area has been
cordoned off. The CFSL Chandigarh team could be seen here collecting these samples. What type of blast was it? What was the intensity of the blast? So, on all possible angles right now, the Chandigarh police could be seen investigating this matter. Apart from that, when we had a word with the people of the BJP office, they said that the scooty is of their employee and it has been parked outside the office only. So, police is looking after on all possible angles. What sort of a blast was it? As luckily, no one has been hurt in this blast. Back to the studio.
Right, Lalita. So those are the latest updates coming to light about the explosion that has taken place outside BJP's headquarters in Chandigarh. Thanks for joining us, and viewers. Now shifting focus to our show called 6 Stories at 6. We'll get you all the updates regarding what's happening in West Asia. And now on to a massive geopolitical flashpoint, one that could in fact redefine global power equations. Now, in the middle of an escalating war with Iran, US President Donald Trump has dropped a bombshell. He suggested that the US could now actually walk away from NATO. Now, yes, this means America pulling out of the world's most powerful military alliance. So what exactly the trigger here? Well, Europe's refusal to back Washington in its war against Iran and its resistance to even support operations around the Strait of Hormuz. So the question is this just pressure tactics or the beginning of the end of NATO? Take a look at this report.
A shockwave across the Western alliance, US President Donald Trump now openly threatening to walk away from the NATO, calling the alliance a paper tiger and saying exiting NATO is beyond reconsideration. The trigger: Europe's refusal to join the US-Israel war against Iran. Key allies like Spain, Italy and France have blocked airspace, denied base access and refused to support the combat operations.
NATO is the single most effective military alliance the world has ever seen, and it has kept us safe for many decades, and we are fully committed to NATO. Secondly, that whatever the pressure on me and others, whatever the noise, I'm going to act in the British national interest in all the decisions that I make. And that's why I've been absolutely clear that this is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it. But I'm equally clear that when it comes to defence and security and our economic future, we have to have closer ties with Europe.
Bueno, creo que todo el mundo sabe cuál es la posición española, es una posición muy clara. No vamos a autorizar, desde el principio lo hemos dicho, la utilización de las bases de Morón y Rota para ningún acto relativo a la guerra de Irán, y en ese sentido desde el primer momento se le trasladó clarísimamente al ejército americano y a las fuerzas americanas, y por lo tanto ni se autorizan las bases y por supuesto tampoco se autoriza la utilización del espacio aéreo español para actuaciones que tengan que ver con la guerra en Irán.
Even as the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, Europe has refused to join US efforts to reopen this critical oil route. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio backing the president, saying Washington may need to re-examine the tie, questioning whether the alliance has become a one-way street. On the ground, the consequences are real. US operations are being stretched, forced into longer routes with limited support infrastructure. This is no longer just a war in West Asia, it is a test of the transatlantic alliance itself. The big question now, is this strategic pressure or the beginning of NATO's biggest crisis in decades?
And now we are about 4 weeks into the war in West Asia, and the US is finally leaving, claiming it has done what it intended to do, eliminate Iran's weapon-wielding capabilities. And now that the US claims it has achieved the goal it's set for in this war, they're ready to move out. Now, the US asserts it is confident of a regime change in the country, and that's happened twice, according to Donald Trump's claim, while also adding that the new regime is much more accessible as well as reasonable. Here's more on what Trump has said about leaving this war. Take a look.
US President Donald Trump has made strong statements on leaving Iran and regime change in the country. Starting his conversation around the recent Venezuelan war, US President Donald Trump said he is confident of having the strongest military in the world.
Look at our military. We have the strongest military. Look what happened in Venezuela. It was so incredible.
All right, viewers, we've got a new statement from US President Donald Trump regarding the new regime in Iran. Now, he goes on to say, and I quote him, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors. He also said he has now just asked the US for a ceasefire. He also goes on to say, we will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion, or as they say, back to the Stone Ages. Now, it is a big claim made by Donald Trump that Iran right now is asking for a ceasefire. It's the president of the new regime who has now asked Donald Trump for a ceasefire. Trump also goes on to say that until the Strait of Hormuz is opened, we will not be going into the ceasefire. In fact, we will be blasting Iran into oblivion, or as they say, back to the Stone Ages. Now, that's the latest statement coming in from Donald Trump regarding a ceasefire that could take place, a potential ceasefire in the West Asia war. Trump says the new regime, which is headed by a more intelligent and more reasonable president, is now asking for a ceasefire from the US. In fact, he also goes on to say that until Strait of Hormuz is open, we will only consider the ceasefire deal. Until Strait of Hormuz is not opened, ceasefire cannot be on the table. He also goes on to say we will be blasting Iran into oblivion, or back to the Stone Ages. Now, viewers, it does seem that the balance which had in fact gone into Iran's favor could now be tipping back to the US side, as Donald Trump now claims that it is Iran which is asking for a ceasefire in this conflict. Now, he says that Iran's new regime president, who is less radicalized and also far more intelligent, has just asked the US for a ceasefire. He also goes on to say we will consider the deal if the Strait of Hormuz is opened and is free. Until then, we will keep blasting Iran. So it does seem that Donald Trump has put his own conditions for a ceasefire deal to be agreed upon. He says that until and unless there is freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, we will not be agreeing to a ceasefire, which means the Strait of Hormuz and its blockade still remains the bone of contention, still remains the major contested issue between Iran and the US. And this time Iran, it seems, is asking for a ceasefire according to Donald Trump's claims. It's the latest statement that is coming from the US President Donald Trump, who says that the new regime, it's the third regime according to him, because he's already killed all the leaders of the first and the second regime. So he now says the third regime and the president of the new regime is much less radicalized and more intelligent, and therefore they have now asked for a ceasefire from the United States. But he also goes on to put a condition on a ceasefire, saying that he will not go ahead with this. All right, my colleague Niranjan now joins in more details on this. And Niranjan, it is a big statement from Donald Trump, who now says that Iran here has asked for a ceasefire, while Trump seems to be putting a condition on that, that is the blockade of Strait of Hormuz must be removed.
Well, it's a very interesting claim coming on a day when you have the IRGC take de facto control of the Iranian government. And Donald Trump in his latest tweet has just claimed, and I'm reading, he says, Iran's new regime president. Now, we know that Pezeshkian is the current president, and he is still alive and very much tweeting frequently, giving out sound bites, and was also seen on the streets of Tehran about 24 hours ago. Now, Pezeshkian also said that the war could end if they agree to security guarantees. Now, we don't know whether Donald Trump is referring to Pezeshkian when he puts out this tweet, but he has said the new regime president, Iran's new regime president, he's much less radicalized, far more intelligent than his predecessors, and has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. Once again, Donald Trump not naming who this president is or who he is referring to, or whether it is Pezeshkian or someone else. But, very interesting that the question was put yesterday to the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister by Arnab on Republic. And he refused to, respond to the word regime and mentioned that Iran is not a one-man country. And he did, of course, confirm that mediation was on. And it's all sort of adding up. What it did confirm is talks are on, or rather, should I say, mediation has been on. Who the mediators are, we don't know, but it's clear that they are speaking to someone within the establishment in Iran. And it is someone who's still very much in Iran, whether it's Pezeshkian or some reports quoted it as being Ghalibaf, the speaker, we don't know. But Trump refers to this person as the new president. He says the new regime president, which means Trump is, and America is looking at this particular person as the new regime president, and is acknowledging that he's much less radicalized and far more intelligent. But the news point here is that Donald Trump also in the same tweet says that US will consider the ceasefire. He says we will consider the ceasefire when the Strait of Hormuz is open, free and clear. Now, that is the most critical aspect. And when we spoke to the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister yesterday, Ismail Baghai, in that interview to Arnab Goswami, mentioned that, keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed was a wartime measure. It was not permanent. And that they had to sort of do that to teach their enemies a lesson. And they had to sort of do that, take complete control to ensure that only the non-hostile countries pass the Strait of Hormuz, hostile nations don't pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and that there is no escalation there. So, very interesting series of developments. One, you had a confirmation that mediation has been on. Two, you have Donald Trump now confirming, obviously via intermediaries and the mediation, that they have asked for a ceasefire. We don't know whether it's the truth, by the way, because Donald Trump, he says something, takes that back, flips the page. Nobody can take Donald Trump seriously, but it's a build-up to what is happening tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. India time. Donald Trump will be addressing, that's 9 p.m. Eastern time. He's going to be, addressing the people of America on the war. Now, there is speculation that Donald Trump, believed to be the master of TACO, T-A-C-O, or the famous saying that Trump always chickens out. He did mention yesterday that whether the Strait of Hormuz is opened or not, there could be an end to the war. So last evening he said even if it's not open, he's going to end the war. And today he's saying that they've asked for a ceasefire, and the ceasefire can't happen until the Strait of Hormuz is open. So interesting series of developments on a day, once again, when the IRGC, some Iranian media report said, IRGC has taken de facto control of the government in Iran, ensuring that there is no politician in charge as such, that they take over the administrative control completely during the war, and that the same report also mentioned some tension between Pezeshkian and the IRGC. Now, is Pezeshkian the person who America is engaging with? We don't know. Is that why there is tension? We don't know. But interesting series of developments that have come in, and the fact that Donald Trump has confirmed that there is a call for a ceasefire. Now, he said this before, by the way. He said this before, that they've been asking for a ceasefire. Whether the ceasefire happens or not, whether that's the eventual announcement tomorrow, we don't know. Let's wait and watch. I think we also have some responses lined up. I'm handing it back to you as we go across and, getting the first responses from our experts. Okay, I think we have Lieutenant General Asit Mistry. General Mistry, what do you make of this latest tweet, sir? He says there is a new regime, and that new regime has a president. He's less radicalized, more intelligent, blah, blah, blah. And he also says they've asked for a ceasefire, adding that no ceasefire is possible till the Strait of Hormuz is open.
Well, this could be a bargaining tactic on behalf of President Trump. Because, he keeps making these kind of statements which do not seem to have any kind of relativity with the reality. So there is nothing known as to with whom the negotiations are going on and who has called for a ceasefire. Nothing is known. So for all you know, these may just be pressure tactics. This may be the psychological tactics. as was, the threat to bomb the Iranian power plants and so on. So it's a little too early, but maybe in his address that as per the Wednesday morning time that he's going to make, or Wednesday evening US time, probably something more may come out of it. Over to you.
Yes, sir. If I can get you to respond also to this interesting development we had today with some sections of the Iranian media suggesting that the IRGC has taken control of the entire establishment in Iran. They try to sort of suggest a divide between the current government or whoever was in charge. They try to speak of new appointments that were being made. Do you think it sort of is adding up, General Mistry?
You see, IRGC has been in de facto control of Iran for quite some time. Not only with the start of this war, they have been dictating the security policy. In fact, most of the leaders who have held critical appointments, like Larijani earlier, and including the new Supreme Leader, Mustafa, they've all been in the IRGC. So IRGC is deeply enmeshed with the power dynamics of Iran. So this again may be some kind of psychological tactics to call kind of a divide and rule kind of thing to bring about some kind of division within the Iranian hierarchy. But IRGC has been firmly in control. There is no dispute on that.
All right, interesting developments there, General Mistry. And my question is, essentially, is this President Trump building up to that announcement that he's going to make in just about 12 hours from now, 9 p.m. Eastern time in the United States and 6:30 a.m. India time tomorrow morning?
Well, nobody can predict what President Trump is going to say, and whatever he has said, how long will that hold true? But, there is a third party to this conflict. There is Israel too. So, we need to watch out for what is going to be response from Israel as well. And it's better to wait and watch rather than to make any kind of hasty pronouncements at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but the fact that this statement from Trump on Truth Social comes just within, a couple of hours of reports coming out of Iran that IRGC is in control, that they are the right people to be talking to. Does that show that there might be a grain of truth in the sense that the Americans might have succeeded in creating a wedge in the Tehran establishment, and they might have, sort of shielded Pezeshkian and Arakchi and Galibaf from the rest of the system and spoken to them and managed to get them on board? But, and that's a big but, if the ceasefire happens with this group, which has no currency left with IRGC, then obviously we're back to square one and there is no ceasefire.
Absolutely. So it comes back to the same point that IRGC is the one that is in the driver's seat. You need to be negotiating with those who have the levers of power. If you continue to talk with somebody who is not in control of at least the military situation at the moment, in a moment of conflict, those negotiations may have little meaning. And I'm sure even the U.S. knows that. They have been talking probably through somebody in the IRGC. And unless they have done that, all this can remain, for want of a better word, let's say pipe dreams.
Yeah, and that perhaps takes us to this conclusion, General Mistry, that maybe President Trump just wants to get rid of this war. He just wants to end it somehow. So he's sort of creating the atmospherics, cooking up a picture so that he can just say, okay, fine, I said this has happened, off with this war, and he's back to his golf course in Florida.
Yes, absolutely. That there is no doubt that, he's bitten off more than he can chew. In any case, he does not have the capacity to withstand, long-term conflict. And it is quite evident they haven't thought through this. They have only been doing tactical actions but none of these tactical actions have been woven together to produce a strategic effect. So they can keep saying we have destroyed so many of missile launchers and missiles, but what is relevant is what is the residual combat potential of Iran, and that is still significant. It is still able to penetrate all the defensive shields. So President Trump is thoroughly looking for a way out. It is like, like the Hindi classical this thing, सांप ने छछूंदर निकल लिया है. Now he doesn't know how to throw it out or how to digest it further.
Yeah.
So he's probably, in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And he's looking for any kind of, tinke ko sahara ki how can he get out of this? That's it. Because, as time passes, the November deadline is drawing closer. And the cost of gas in US is shooting up. Today it is more than $4 a gallon.
You're right. You are absolutely right. So it's like Gale ki haddi, and President Trump just somehow wants to get rid of this and get done with this. And we have seen signs of frustration because he has sort of tried to put the onus on someone who's nothing to do with any decision making except for present the decisions, which is the White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt. And earlier he has tried to put the onus on Pete Hegseth, suggesting it was Pete Hegseth's call to go for the war. And so he's looking at deniability also, which means that this is clearly a political decision, and President Trump has realized that he is not willing to pay the political price of this situation that's emerging on the economic and political front taken together.
Absolutely. You see, for the first time, his popularity rating has started going down. And with these increase in the cost as also inflation, this is going to, snowball into further kind of political erosion as far as he's concerned. There has been this massive rally of no kings. So the pressure is building up on him. And in any case, he doesn't have too much of attention span on one thing. So, psychologically, politically, militarily, every which way, things are bad for him.
Okay, General Mistry, please stay with us. We also have more voices joining in. And we have General Shashi Asthana joining us. All right, we have General Shashi Asthana joining us on this broadcast. Very good afternoon to you, General Asthana. And the question is that President Trump, is he really building up to announcement of end of war tomorrow morning by claiming that Iranians have come to him and said, please cease fire? He, of course, believes that unless Strait of Hormuz is open, the US is not going to stop bombing Iran. But I think he's creating alibis.
He's making a case for him to declare victory of some sort, to make sure that he builds a narrative, even if it is on fake news, because I think the whole knows that the new regime in Iran is really much more radical than the previous one, and as of now, the influence of IRGC in the governance as well as in the decisions which Iran is making is much more than what it was earlier. So he is making a on the false pretext because I find it very inconvenient to continue this. So I think he's making this. It will happen that he unilaterally declares a victory, whether anybody else other.
Yeah, I think some connectivity issue there with General Asthana.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead. Now it's better, General Asthana.
Okay. I'll just, what I was saying that I think President Trump is making a case to unilaterally declare a victory in some manner, even if the whole world is convinced or otherwise. For the simple reason, because we all know that the existing regime or the current...
I think General Asthana, very sorry, the line, there is some issue with the line. We'll fix it and come back to you. And in fact, we will come back to this story in a bit because this is still an evolving situation. This is clearly a case of President Trump building up to his major announcement that's slated for 6:30 a.m. India time. Okay, and moving on. TVK's Adhav Arjun has attacked the DMK, saying the DMK goons instigated violence. Adhav Arjun's he has urged election officers to take action against DMK's anti-social gang. TVK Party General Secretary Adhav Arjun met the Chief Election Officer of Tamil Nadu, Archana Patnaik, today in Chennai to raise the complaint. The TVK leader stated that the state DGP, SP and few other officials are not working with the model code of conduct and are still in touch with the DMK leaders and are denying permissions for TVK to carry out the campaign. He has submitted this letter, and this comes on the back of a public meeting of the Tamil Nadu TVK party in Villivakkam Assembly constituency, where some clash happened with the DMK cadres. Rowdies instigated by DMK smashed bottles, according to TVK, and this is TVK's charge against the DMK, and they have gone to the Election Commission with this petition that action be taken against the DMK cadres. And Arjun further says arrangements by Chennai City Police were inadequate in that rally, causing tasks such as crowd management to come to a complete standstill. Is it a case of TVK being extra cautious? Okay, let's go to Sharda for more on this. She's joining us over the phone from Chennai. Sharda, is this a case of the TVK being very cautious given the fact that they already have an issue with election management in a rally which led to a stampede and many deaths? Or is it a case of the DMK actually disrupting the election campaigning of TVK? What are the facts?
You know, Abhishek, this is not the first time that the TVK is approaching the Election Commission. It's the fourth time since the Code of Conduct was implemented. Initially, Sengote and the party general secretary had come to seek permission for campaigns. Second time, we saw the actor politician Vijay himself coming and asking for permission, saying that the DMK is disrupting their campaign places where they are doing campaigns. And now Adhav Arjun and Busiana together again raise another complaint. Yesterday in Delhi, the Election Commission of India was also approached by the TVK. So it's been 4 times since the TVK has been constantly telling that it is the government officials under the DMK who are constantly disrupting their campaigns. Not just the road rally that the Vijay opted from Perambur to Kolattur after filing his nominations, but also the places where Adhav Arjuna has been campaigning. There was multiple disturbances, including speaker cards. We also saw Vijay was not allowed to speak in the Kolattur constituency, which belonged to the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. So multiple complaints have been raised by the TVK party general secretaries to the Election Commission, asking for the Election Commission to take action against the SPs and the DGPs who are working in favor of the DMK government even now, Abhishek.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharda, for joining us. We are still staying with election stories, and we are staying with Tamil Nadu politics in an exclusive conversation with Republic TV's Sharda. Deputy Chief Minister for Tamil Nadu, Udayanidhi Stalin, has confirmed that he will file his nomination from Chepak constituency tomorrow. When questioned about the freebies scheme, he defended them, stating that people also approve of them. Listen to him.
Udayanidhi Stalin has started campaigning ahead of the upcoming Tamil Nadu election. Republic managed to get an exclusive interaction with the Deputy Chief Minister. Listen in to the full conversation.
Sir, you started your campaign. It's been 3 days. How has the response been?
The response is very good. I am very, very positive. I have almost finished around 12 constituencies. Everywhere I'm going, I'm seeing women voters gathering and showing their support, women and youngsters. And we are very confident of a landslide victory.
So with the manifesto coming out, there's always the IRMK and BJP constantly pointing out that these welfare schemes are only increasing the debt of the government, and it's no more a welfare scheme, no more a freebie scheme is no more attractive.
No, no. Welfare schemes are not increasing the debt of the government. It's increasing the debt of the government. It's no more a welfare scheme. No more a freebie scheme is no more attractive. No, no. Welfare schemes are not increasing the debt of the government. It's no more a welfare scheme. No more a freebie scheme is no more attractive.
So
No, the people of Tamil Nadu will decide. We have given promises. We have kept our promises. So people of Tamil Nadu are very confident. Whoever can, anybody can give promises, but only our leader, only DMK has always been in the habit of fulfilling the promises. So people believe in whatever our leader says.
So also taking into consideration, Edappadi Palaniswamy has recently alleged that you've been bad-mouthing him. You're also criticizing him for his...
Please tell me, no, can you please point out one incident where I have bad-mouthed? If I have bad-mouthed, I'm saying my sorry to him. I have never bad-mouthed about any leader in that case.
So one last question also, sir. Right now your campaign started and most of the time you've been pointing out that the fight is against the India and Tamil Nadu. Is your ideological avenue, though being BJP, is this election fight between AIADMK or DMK or DMK versus BJP?
No, this is a fight between Tamil Nadu and Delhi. Tamil Nadu team versus Delhi team. Because Delhi is trying to take control of Tamil Nadu like all the other states. But they have continuously they have failed in that agenda. Yes, definitely this is an ideological war, and definitely people of Tamil Nadu, our Tamil ideology, our Dravidian ideology will win.
So when will you bring your nominations?
I'm planning to do it tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, in a few short minutes at 7 p.m, Prime Minister Modi will chair a crucial cabinet meeting on security. Cabinet Committee on Security meeting. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Amit Shah, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and some other special invitees are expected to attend the meeting.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
These talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran. Do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
I think Israel will be very happy with what we have. We just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to, my life.
TVK meets with Chief Election Officer in of Tamil Nadu, alleges many top cops in the state not working as per the Model Code of Conduct due to DMK's influence. In an exclusive conversation with Republic Deputy Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Udayanidhi's talent defense freebies says people want them. From plucking tea leaves to taking down the Congress while addressing two rallies, Prime Minister Modi drives BJP's campaign in Assam. While campaigning in Kerala's Ernakulam, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh takes on the ruling Front Alliance. Left Front Alliance says they have destroyed Kerala's economy. Less than 8 days to go for the state elections, and suspense rises over the ruling Left Alliance not releasing manifesto for Kerala yet again.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Corrector, the taste of success.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
These talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran. Do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
I think Israel will be very happy with what we have. We just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to. My life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. I think this is something that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it happen? So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make.
Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, while campaigning in Kerala earlier today, launched a fierce attack on the left front government there. And while addressing the crowd at Ernakulam, he stated that the LDF and the UDF have destroyed Kerala's economy, that they have worked to divide the society. Listen to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh campaigning in Kerala.
केरल के मेहनत कश और ईमानदार लोगों के साथ लेफ्ट डेमोक्रेटिक फ्रंट
और यूनाइटेड डेमोक्रेटिक फ्रंट दोनों ने दशकों से छल किया है, धोखा दिया है। दोनों का झंडा और चुनाव चिन्ह अलग जरूर है, लेकिन उनका चाल चरित्र एक जैसा है, सोच भी उनकी एक जैसी है। एलडीएफ और यूडीएफ दोनों ने समाज को डिवाइड करने का काम किया है। दोनों ने केरलम की इकोनॉमी को बर्बाद करने का काम किया है। दोनों ही अपने वादे पूरे नहीं किए हैं। दोनों ने ही जनता का भरोसा तोड़ा है और भ्रष्टाचार को भी बढ़ावा दिया है। केरलम की जनता एलडीएफ और यूडीएफ को चुनने के लिए वोट नहीं करती है, बल्कि वह तो इन दोनों में से एक को सत्ता से बेदखल करने के लिए वोट करती है, लेकिन बदकिस्मती से दूसरा अपने आप सत्ता में आ जाता है।
All right, with that, we step into a short break. But coming up on the other side, more on what's up with the Cabinet Committee on Security. Are they deliberating the West Asia situation as we build up to that announcement by President Trump tomorrow? Coming up.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, मसाला।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi and National Law School Bengaluru.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा सिम। MDH का जल जीरा, जीरा सिम।
जीरा सिम, असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं, इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
These talks go well.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
You're watching our special coverage on the war investigation. Now, viewers, on a day 33, we're getting more and more interesting developments. So this time, Donald Trump has come out with the latest tweet saying that Iran is now asking for a ceasefire and he will only agree to that if the Strait of Hormuz is open. My colleague Rakshita also joins me in this broadcast. Rakshita.
Absolutely. Now, Trump says he has once again threatened that he's going to pull out of NATO, and he has also used many harsh words, as he has been for the longest time, for the alliance. And there is also reaction coming in from several of the European countries as well, who have snubbed Trump. Once again, we'll get you more. And breaking news to follow. What has Mustafa Khamenei said in his latest statement? We'll break that for you, but first, the headlines.
Trump says he is strongly considering a pulling out of NATO after allies fail to back US action against Iran.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi set to chair Cabinet Committee on Security meeting shortly.
Government announces 25% hike in air turbine fuel for domestic routes. Foreign flight routes to face the full increase as passengers now brace for airfare hike.
Commercial LPG cylinder prices increase across India. Food businesses brace for a hit after price hike.
Hours after Iranian minister's interview to Republic, Tehran now moves United Nations strongly protesting the use of Gulf nation territory by the United States.
US Victoria military base in Baghdad hit by fresh overnight strikes led by Iraqi separatists backed by Iran. Right. Viewers, we start with the latest update coming in from the Supreme Commander of Iran. This is the Supreme Leader of Iran. We have Mustafa Khamenei issuing a statement on the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm just going to quote from that statement. He says, and I quote, "The leverage of blocking the Strait of Hormuz should still be used. Dear warrior brothers, the demand of the masses is the continuation of effective and regret-inducing defense. Certainly, the leverage of blocking the Strait of Hormuz must still be used," says Mustafa Khamenei. He goes on to say, and I quote, "Studies have been conducted regarding opening other fronts. where the enemy has little experience and will be severely vulnerable, and their activation will be carried out if the war situation continues and based on the consideration of interests, unquote. So that's the latest update coming in. Ishita, Mojtaba Khamenei is sending out a message to the armed forces. And this is coming in interestingly when there are also reports of how Donald Trump putting up a condition of the Strait of Hormuz, saying the ceasefire only when the Strait of Hormuz will be open.
Right, of course, Rakshita, these are interesting developments coming to light right after Trump tweeted that Iran is asking for a ceasefire and he will only consider that once the Strait of Hormuz is open. We are now looking at a statement coming in from the Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei himself. Now, he's in fact issued some advice to his armed forces. He says the leverage of the blocking of Strait of Hormuz must be continued. So we are essentially looking at economic warfare now being used by Iran. In fact, we also have some guests joining us. Rakshita.
Right, we have a correspondent joining us from United States. I think Shakir is joining us live on the broadcast. Thank you so much, Shakir, for joining us. And how do you see this latest update that we've just given to our viewers? Mojtaba Khamenei now talking about the Strait of Hormuz, that it should be used, the leverage of blocking should still be used, while he also says that there should be other fronts should be opened where the enemy has little experience and will be severely vulnerable. How do you decode this statement?
Well, for starters, the statement allegedly put out by the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, this is yet another written message in a series of written messages. He hasn't been seen in public since the beginning of the war, and there are serious doubts based on intelligence reports whether he's actually able to make a public appearance and whether he is in fact actually alive. So this just joins the string of messages that have been shot out on his behalf, with no actual proof that he is actually alive and well. That is to correspond with what was stated by the Deputy Foreign Minister in your show yesterday. As it pertains to the message, it's a clear violation of international maritime law. No country has the prerogative to go and block any territorial waters, especially those that are used as a passage for commercial flows. I want to remind the viewers here that 30% of India's exports are passed through the Strait of Hormuz, and this is a dangerous precedent for the international community in which a country just unilaterally decides to take control of international waters and block the passageway for political extortion. It's not something that can be accepted or should be accepted by the international community.
Shakir, just stay on with us. We also have the IRGC saying that the Strait of Hormuz is completely under the control of the naval forces, and the Strait of Hormuz will not be open to the enemies of our people through ridiculous theatrical displays by the American president. Strong words being used by the IRGC now. But Ishita, we have some more updates also coming in.
Right, of course, so Rakshita, now viewers, as the war in West Asia intensifies, there is now a stronger message coming in from the Gulf nations. Now, the United Arab Emirates is saying clearly that this is not just a military confrontation anymore. It is unprovoked terrorism on the part of Iran. It's targeting a sovereign nation's civilian infrastructure as well as energy facilities and even residential areas all across the Emirates. Now, diplomatically, Abu Dhabi is drawing a clear red line here, viewers, saying that it did not seek this war. It had assured that its territory would not be used against Iran, but that goodwill, it says, has now been violated. And now demand is not just for a ceasefire, but for a conclusive outcome, one that addresses Iran's nuclear ambitions, a missile program, as well as a drone warfare and its attempts to choke global trade. Now, listening to what the UAE ambassador had to say in this powerful conversation with my colleague Shavin Sain.
Trump's war has essentially had a wider conflict in the region. Not just Iran, but the Gulf region has also been engulfed. In fact, as far as Dubai is concerned, it happens to be one of the worst hits. And there is a large Indian diaspora in Dubai. What are the major concerns? How exactly is UAE assuaging their fears? Joining us right now is Ambassador Abdul Nasser Al-Shali. He's the ambassador to India. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. In fact, this happens to be our first interaction. And the reason why we are having this interaction, Ambassador, because we've had several of our viewers requesting us to perhaps reach out to the UAE embassy to get us a sense of what's really happening on the ground. Let's first begin your current assessment of the situation, because even as we speak today, there have been ballistic missiles that have been intercepted, and I'm given to understand and an Indian expat has also been injured. Your current assessment of the situation?
Thank you, first of all, for having me. And perhaps the best way to answer this question is to start with a quote by the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who has made it clear that no one should be misled by the UAE's appearance. We have thick skin and bitter flesh. We are no easy prey. And we will carry out our duty towards our country, our people, and our residents, who are also part of our family. That being said, the UAE remains highly resilient and stable, despite Iran's sustained unprovoked terrorist assault of over 2,400 missiles and drones since 28 February, more than all the other countries combined. Our integrated air defense systems have intercepted the vast majority of incoming threats, and the professionalism of our armed forces has ensured that daily life in the UAE continues without disruption, with the safety and security of our citizens, residents, and visitors as our top priority. Daily life in the UAE has not skipped a beat. Businesses remain open, and the tourism sector continues to welcome visitors while maintaining strong safety measures, obviously. As you would know already, we are home to more than 200 nationalities who continue to live in harmony and peace. The UAE also remains a hub for trade, innovation, and ideas. Our GDP is 75% non-oil, and our sovereign wealth funds hold approximately more than $2.49 trillion in assets, making the UAE the third largest sovereign wealth holder globally. And let me be very clear here. The UAE has been through difficult moments before, and each time we have emerged stronger. This time will simply not be any different.
Ambassador, given the current situation, this entire thing would essentially be the kind of response. We have seen several other Gulf nations basically responding here. They've taken a public position on this entire matter. How would you essentially describe UAE's position on this entire issue, the diplomatic position that has been taken by UAE, and also the priorities as far as the resolution is concerned, because resolution happens to be the key factor right now for UAE?
Well, the UAE's position has been consistent from the outset. We did not seek this war. Before this war began, the UAE made it very clear that its territory and airspace would not be used to launch attacks against Iran. The assurance was given in good faith, but Iran chose to violate it. The international response has been unequivocal. Leaders from around the world have been in close and constant contact with the UAE, and 179 countries have condemned and expressed solidarity with the UAE. The historic UN Security Council resolution, the one that you were referring to, 2817, was co-sponsored by 136 nations, and the IMO Council declaration backed by more than 150 member states. And all of that, if anything, reflect an extraordinary demonstration of global unity. A Human Rights Council resolution adopted by consensus and co-sponsored by more than 100 states has called on Iran to provide full, effective and prompt reparations to victims, including those affected by attacks on energy systems and essential services. A joint statement from Gulf countries and Jordan has further condemned attacks on commercial vessels and civilian infrastructure and has called on Iran to cease all hostile actions and comply with the resolution 2817. Taken together, these actions across the Security Council, the International Maritime Organization, the Human Rights Council, and the joint statement that I referred to earlier send a clear and unified message. Unprovoked terrorist attacks against sovereign nations are unacceptable and will carry consequences. However, a simple ceasefire is not enough. We need a conclusive outcome that addresses Iran's full range of threats, nuclear capabilities, missiles, drones, terror proxies, and blockades of international sea lanes.
Ambassador, UAE has taken a very strong position as far as Strait of Hormuz is concerned, and it was largely spoken about, that is the Hormuz plan. shaping up, because this was deliberated upon. There are joint statements that have also been issued by a few countries. They've signed that. But the larger concern has been that this Hormuz plan has not been effective, or it hasn't, perhaps started as yet. Where does UAE really stand as far as Strait of Hormuz is concerned?
I cannot make this clearer than what I'm going to say next. The Strait of Hormuz is not a Gulf issue alone. It's a global lifeline. Roughly a fifth of the world's energy supplies transit through it each day. Approximately 30% of fertilizers essential for global food production move through this corridor, and I'm pretty sure India is feeling the impact of that already. Iran's threats to close the strait are not a negotiating tactic. They are a form of economic coercion that risks holding the global economy hostage. It's as simple as that is. Freedom of navigation in the strait is a matter of settled international law. No single country can be allowed to control or threaten a waterway on which the entire world depends. The strategic importance of this waterway extends far beyond oil. Around 25% of global gas flows originate from the Gulf, alongside nearly 70% of its petrochemical needs, all moving through this critical passage, alongside essential goods linking markets across continents.
Right.
This goes far beyond energy. It affects food security, global supply chains, and the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people, including here in India. Against this backdrop, Iran must immediately cease its threats, mine-laying and drone and missile attacks, and any attempt to disrupt commercial shipping through the strait, and comply with the UN Security Council Resolution 2817. That is why the UAE is working with international partners to ensure that this vital corridor remains open, secure, and free from disruption. We remain engaged across all relevant multilateral platforms for this. Excuse me. We remain engaged across all relevant multilateral platforms to support international initiatives to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Safeguarding freedom of navigation is a collective international responsibility, essential to global economic stability and to prevent escalation.
Ambassador, what I was asking you was just a follow-up on what you just now said, that all efforts are being made to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. And that is of vital concern to many of us, even in India, as you rightly pointed out, that we are also feeling the pinch of the war that is going on and Strait of Hormuz being blocked. UAE has taken a very strong position on this matter. How exactly do you plan to keep the Strait of Hormuz open?
Since you mentioned the Indian diaspora in the UAE, perhaps I should ascertain here that the safety of every individual on the UAE's territory is our absolute priority. This obviously includes the Indian community, which is part of the very fabric of this country. The UAE mourns the loss of Indian civilians killed by Iran during this war and prays for a swift recovery for those who have been injured. And let me speak directly to Indian families watching this. Your people are safe. His Highness, the President of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, visited injured civilians in hospitals, among them an Indian national, and affirmed they are all our responsibility. Our air defense systems are performing with incredible effectiveness, and the UAE and Indian governments are in close and continuous contact at the highest levels regarding the safety of Indian nationals. The Indian community is not a guest in the UAE. They are part of our family, and we will do everything necessary to ensure their safety.
Right. Ambassador, one final question that I want to take with you, because perhaps it also gives us a sense of what's really happening, because it's almost a month into the war. UAE, in fact, has faced a sustained campaign of attacks that we've seen, at least in the last few weeks. How does the UAE essentially view the scale of what it has endured? It was quite a surprise for us also. And what is it that you're expecting from the international community at this point in time? Because this is not an isolated fact. Not just UAE, there are other Gulf nations which are facing the brunt of it. So what is your expectation? What is how are you viewing this sustained attacks that are taking place? Not a single day of reprieve that we have seen.
Not only a surprise to you, but as a surprise to us and everyone else. Iran has not targeted countries that declared war on it. It has targeted its neighbors, including those that worked actively to prevent this war. Those unprovoked terrorist attacks targeting civilian infrastructure, energy facilities, and residential areas is not a military strategy. It is, put simply, terrorism. When such actions extend to critical global choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, they become an attack not only on the region, but on the entire global economy. 179 countries, like I mentioned earlier, have already condemned and expressed solidarity. The expectation now is that this consensus is sustained, not only in words, but in meaningful action that make clear that unprovoked terrorist attacks against sovereign nations cannot stand. We want Iran to act as a normal neighbor. Differences may remain. It cannot attack others because of those, disrupt international waterways, or even export extremism. Ignoring the problem will not solve it. It will only delay the next crisis.
Well, Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast and sharing your views on this entire issue. We're also hoping that there will be an early resolution on this entire matter. And perhaps with millions of viewers on Republic TV who've asked this question as to what's really happening in UAE, finally we get an answer from the Ambassador directly. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, we have breaking news coming in right now. The American Lucas drone has been shot down, as per the Iranian media, by the Iranian air defense systems in western Iran. And we are just going to play out that video of photograph of that drone that has been downed. This is the Lucas drone. It's a counter to the cluster drones of Iran that has been engineered by the US and Israel, and they've tried to just reverse engineer the Shahid drones, and that's the Lucas drone that's in pieces. At least that is what is being claimed by the Iranian media. That is the low-cost uncrewed combat attack system of America. It's developed by Americans, and that has been now downed by the Iranian air defense systems. Shaked continues to be with us. Shaked, well, Iran is, these are psyops at best right now. We see that, but it sends out a very, very, strong message from Iran also, because we don't see US also denying that the Lucas drone has been downed by the Iranian air defense system, which the US and Israel claim have been completely decimated. They have been left incapable by their operation.
Well, I would treat any statements by the Ayatollah regime with a grain of salt, simply because they have, throughout this period of this war, and of course beforehand, put out a vast disinformation campaign intended to lower the morale of the US and its allies as it pertains to this war. So I would be very hesitant to comment even on this, for the very simple reason that the Iranian regime has put out many statements before that they attacked all sorts of ships and other assets that turned out to be completely unfounded. So before we even get to that, let's give it a few minutes to sink in and see what CENTCOM's response is.
Right. Just stay on with us. We will be showing our viewers also the statements that have come in from Donald Trump today as far as NATO is concerned. Donald Trump today said that he is considering leaving the NATO. Now, that's a big statement. Of course, he has been slamming the NATO for a long, long time now. Now he calls it a paper tiger. And meanwhile, we've seen that NATO allies have not entertained any of his demands as far as the participation in this war is concerned. Even Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, goes on to say that it is something that is not, that this war is not their war, it's not in their national interest. So clearly, Trump is so frustrated that he has no option but to now issue threats to the NATO that they don't need that he doesn't need the NATO. He's never been impressed or swayed by the NATO ever. Take a look at this report.
A shockwave across the Western Alliance, US President Donald Trump now openly threatening to walk away from the NATO, calling the alliance a paper tiger and saying exiting NATO is beyond reconsideration. The trigger: Europe's refusal to join the US-Israel war against Iran. Key allies like Spain, Italy and France have blocked airspace, denied base access and refused to support the combat operations.
NATO is the single most effective military alliance the world has ever seen, and it has kept us safe for many decades, and we are fully committed to NATO. Secondly, that whatever the pressure on me and others, whatever the noise, I'm going to act in the British national interest in all the decisions that I make. And that's why I've been absolutely clear that this is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it. But I'm equally clear that when it comes to defence and security and our economic future, we have to have closer ties with Europe.
Bueno, creo que todo el mundo sabe cuál es la posición española, es una posición muy clara. No vamos a autorizar, desde el principio lo hemos dicho, la utilización de las bases de Morón y Rota para ningún acto relativo a la guerra de Irán, y en ese sentido desde el primer momento se le trasladó clarísimamente al ejército americano y a las fuerzas americanas, y por lo tanto ni se autorizan las bases y por supuesto tampoco se autoriza la utilización del espacio aéreo español para actuaciones que tengan que ver con la guerra en Irán.
Even as the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, Europe has refused to join US efforts to reopen this critical oil route. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio backing the president, saying Washington may need to re-examine the tie, questioning whether the alliance has become a one-way street. On the ground, the consequences are real. US operations are being stretched, forced into longer routes with limited support infrastructure. This is no longer just a war in West Asia, it is a test of the transatlantic alliance itself. The big question now, is this strategic pressure or the beginning of NATO's biggest crisis in decades?
With that, that's a wrap in this edition, but we will continue to be with you on the other side of this very, very short break. There'll be much more lined up for you on the other side.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम